Okay, so you guys are here because you want to know the best way to lose weight. And so the first question I'm going to start with is why? And this was a difficult one for me at first because, there were things like I want to feel sexier. I want to attract a partner. I want to have less joint pain. I want to be healthier. And what I found was I ended up in this internal struggle where it had two parts. There was this part, and I'm going to say it was partially pretending that it was to get healthier, because that was a component of it. But the larger part of it was because I didn't feel like I could be sexy if I wasn't in a different body. And so then this second part emerged, like the more work that I did and the more trauma that I processed, the second part emerged. Um, and this part basically told me, yeah, we're not doing anything until you love us the way that we are. And so then there's this internal struggle would happen because I'm like, but I want to be healthier. And this part would say, yeah, okay, I get it. But I also know that the biggest reason you're doing this is because you don't love yourself the way you are. You don't love me the way I am. And so it kept me stuck. And a question I would throw out to you guys is how many of you tell yourself that life can't really start until you're in a smaller body. I can't ask for what I need. I can't voice my desires. I can't dress in a certain way. I can't be sexy. I can't be confident. I can't be, fill in the blank, whatever it is that we're waiting on until we're in this different body. And the thing is, we're just wasting life because this day may never come. Because let's be honest, that inner critic is really strong, and we can fix one thing and then it focuses on something else. And ultimately, what this part is telling us is that, I really want you to be happy. I want you to be in partnership. I want you to be accepted. But the problem with this part is that it doesn't understand that you're already sexy. You already belong. You already are love. And this, I know that this is a mental exercise that we have to go through because I get it. I want a partner too. But the fallacy, the lie that this part tells me is that won't happen until I'm in a different body. And when you think of the people that you look at and you think they're sexy, there may be some, and I hate the term when people are like, oh, this person's a bombshell, oh, they're so sexy. Um, Especially when you start to get to know that person or different aspects of that person and you're like, there's nothing beyond the shell with this person. That's all they offer. And when I do my work with people with eating disorders or with people with body image issues, the first thing that we do is we draw a circle. And the first question I ask them is how much of your worth comes from what your body looks like? And when we start, especially with people with eating disorders, I would say typically they start anywhere between 70 and 90%. So 90% of their worth is being attributed to their body. And I get it. This is what we get taught from a very young age. My mother grew up in a different age, and essentially what she was told was, okay, even the girls don't have to finish school beyond 16 because they don't need schooling. All they need to do is find a husband. And for her, what she needed to do was to look the part, to be attractive, to be, something that a man would want. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of emphasis on the whole package. It was just, I want my trophy wife, I want her to look a certain way to fit my image, to validate me. And so that's what she was taught, was that her worth was a being married, and the way she was going to get married was through the way her body looked. And growing up, the message that I got was nothing else matters except for the way you look. And even very innocent comments like, oh, you look like you're losing weight, or that outfit looks really nice on you, or, like it reinforced this idea that my worth came from a number on the scale. And when that's what you're taught, of course, this is what you then teach to your children. And so when I do this circle, we have this circle, and a lot of times people, like I said, will start with 70 to 90%. And then we start going through, and sometimes it can be easier when you flip it. Like, what is it that you're looking for in a partner? Or what is it that you're looking for in a friend? And when they start to say things like, I want to be able to trust them. I want someone that can listen to me. I want someone that when I need them to be there for me, they are. Someone that'll be authentic with me, that'll be vulnerable with me, that will love me the way I am. And then I start to turn those things back on them. Okay, so how many of these things do you represent? Are you a person that you can trust? Are you a person that's there for your friends? And then I say, okay, so when you look back at your circle, where does that fit in your circle? How much value does being a good friend, how much value does that give you? And slowly, like things like being able to communicate, being adventurous, being intelligent, being all of these things, and slowly, we start to kind of carve out more room for all of the parts, to love all of the person versus assigning one value to one small aspect of a person. And I know that to me is a first step of going, okay, let's see everything about you. Let's start to add value to everything about you. And then that the next step, and this one is harder for people to conceptualize because a lot of times we put our value and how much we're worth based on how much people around us think we're worth. Like how many dates does this person get? Well, they must be more valuable. How many likes on Facebook does this person get? Well, they must be more valuable. And we start to outsource our worth. Like if I'm getting feedback that says I'm worthy, then I'm worthy. But if I'm not, then I'm not. And the first move is to realize everything that makes you you. And then the second part of that is transitioning to go, my worth does not come from the people around me. My worth does not come from a number on a scale. My number doesn't come from, how many people would describe me as a bombshell. There's something about a person that, like if you would objectively look at them by societal standards, maybe you would not call them attractive. And then as you get to know all these different facets of them, it's like, wow, this person is really, really hot, really sexy. Like the way they move in the world, the way they carry themselves in the world, their heart, the way they treat me, the way that I feel when I'm with them. Those things start to come into play. So I think it was Maya Angelou. I'm sorry if I have misattributed this, but there's a quote that says, they won't remember what you said or what you did. What they will remember is how you made them feel. And this is so true. And this is more of an energetic thing. It's that connection that someone can't fake. It's either there or it's not there. And in our systems, get confused when someone pretends that it's there when it's not, because our system tunes into whether or not we feel connected. Um, and then the third part of that, so the first part is realizing that we are multifacets, and multifacets contribute to our worth. Our second part is then shifting into, like how are we carrying ourselves in the world? How are we interacting with the people and the things in our world? And then the third part of that, and I would say that these are what I would call stages of awakening, because and I'll say I am a work in progress. In full transparency, I was this person that I had 4 liposuctions. And each time it was this drive that I wasn't thin enough, I wasn't acceptable enough, I wasn't going to meet military standards. And I remember going to a military therapist and telling her that I'm starting to struggle, and I'm starting to eat to soothe myself, and as my body's getting bigger, like I'm starting to have those thoughts that I want to go back to my bulimic tendencies. And I remember her pulling out her lunchbox and showing me hard boiled eggs, and she said, if you just eat like this, like your tummy will be flat in no time, and you won't have to worry about the physical fitness test. um and that was clearly a therapist who didn't get it. It has nothing to do with the food. It has everything to do with what we're holding and how we feel in ourselves and how we feel in our body. But as we start to awaken, the place that I would say, there's never a destination, because I think it's a lifelong process and a lifelong growing. But the place I'm moving towards is this place where I just know that because I was born into a body, I am worthy. I don't have to earn it. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to say anything. I don't have to be perfect. There are moments where my total jerk part's going to come out, and I'm still worthy. I may make mistakes. I may have imperfections, and I'm still worthy. And I think a lot of times, our inner critic starts to judge the people around us, because we judge ourselves so strongly, and we hold ourselves to such a high standard that when their less than perfect parts come out, then we start to judge them. And part of it is kind of like, if I can just keep everyone else around me down, then I feel better about myself. And it's not about keeping them down, because the more that we lift each other up and we accept all of the parts of us, the more we start to develop unconditional love for ourselves. Because let's be honest, there are people who are total jerks, and I can be a total jerk. And if I can love that in them, and I can love that in myself, and know that I'm growing, and I'm getting more loving, and I'm becoming, who I really want to be. But in the meantime, I still love that part that for whatever reason is being a jerk. Then we start to develop unconditional love. And in the journey is taking us towards that unconditional love. Like, can I love all of your parts? Can I love all of my parts? And knowing that our worth is inherent. It's a birthright. It's something we are born into. It's not something we earn or we lose or we have to get from someone else. Um, it's like there's beautiful, beautiful teaching, and they were talking about attachment wounds. And sometimes we think that attachment wounds are mommy and daddy or our first heartbreak. And the reminder was that we spend our whole lives looking for love outside of ourselves. And if we just remember, not even, it's not a teaching, it's a remembering that we are love. We are the source of our own love. And the more that we love, and the more that we put love out into the world, the more that we love ourselves, the more that comes back to us. Because we're like magnets. What we put out in the world is what we attract. If we're a jerk, we attract jerks. If we're loving, we attract love. And so this is the journey to move into love, and to move into the knowing that I am love, you are love. I am worthy, you are worthy. We are perfect just as we are. Now I want to let that one sink in for a little bit, for us perfectionists out there. I am perfect just as I am, and I'm growing. So both can exist at the same time. I am perfect as I am, and I'm growing. So I just want to leave you with that. Maybe even do the exercise for yourself. Do the circle. How much does losing weight and being in this ideal body play into my worth? And then do that exercise for yourself. Even drop a comment down below, like where did I start and where did I end up? And what ended up taking some of that emphasis on the weight or the way my body looked. Like, was it, like my friends, how good of a friend I was, how good of a mother I was, how good of a father I was, how good of a partner I was, and slowly us start to move towards even those things don't determine our worth. So again, just drop down below. Where did you start? Where did you end up? What were some of the things, realizations that you had along the way? And if you think that there's someone in your life that is struggling with weight, is putting their value on their weight or their body size, this may be helpful to share with them. And if you want to check out more resources, my website, www.ourworldempowered, and it's also down below. And if you click like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notified, because obviously I post whenever the urge, the impulse arises. I'm trying to get better at that, but I'm a work in progress. But yes, but if you hit that little bell, then it'll notify you whenever I do post, and then we can keep this dialogue going. We can move into unconditional love together. So that's my invitation to you. I want you to go out there and love and live and connect and just fully express the amazing person that you are.